Hello everyone, this is Yunli Han again. Yesterday, or the day before, I went ahead and made a video that talked about my English Center in a bit more detail, or my idea for an English Center in more detail. Here's the thing, with that idea comes another idea, because with my English Center, my specific English Center, or language center, whichever you want to call it, everybody calls it an English Center here, even though it may teach more than just English language. My center is going to get rid of AutoPass, because my opinion is simple. See, here in Vietnam, we have a lot of English centers, and I mean a lot of English centers. And all those English centers care about is this. They don't care about the kids. They don't care about what level English they have. All they care about is this. That's the reason why on the midterm English exam and at the end of the year English exam, all the kids always get a 10 score, a perfect A plus score, even though the actual level of the kids' English skill is quite low. See, I can tell you quite a few stories of back when I was teaching English about how there's this one case, which there's this one case through this English center that I'm not going to name, where I went ahead and gave, I think it was midterm. No, it was the end of the year English exam for first graders. First graders. All right. Now, there is this Russian English teacher who was teaching these first graders, but unfortunately, that Russian English teacher was sick. So I came in as a sub to go ahead and give the English test. Because I gave an actual honest test. All right. I did not let the kids cheat. I did not give perfect 10 scores. I gave the kids what I thought they actually earned. They all failed because they couldn't answer anything beyond what's your name. That's it. See, for the first graders, the English test is very simple. It's like, if I remember rightly, it's like 5 or 6 questions, and that's it. Like, what's your name? How old are you? Uh, like, what's this? Stuff like that. Super simple. Right? They couldn't answer anything beyond what's your name. And I think that's pretty sad. The entire class failed. The English center that I went through was not happy with that. So they went ahead and sent in another English teacher. And of course, all the kids got perfect 10 scores. That's what's wrong with the English education here in Vietnam, is because of the fact that the kids are being given automatic 10 scores, perfect scores, even though their English is actually quite low. Reason why is simple. It's because from what I was told, and I don't know if this is true or not, but from what I was told, it's because of the fact that the bonuses of the Vietnamese teachers will be affected if their kids don't get perfect scores. That's the reason why the Vietnamese teachers are concerned with, perfect attendance awards, perfect student behavior awards. They don't care how the kids actually act. They just want those awards. And that's it. See, the problem with English education here in Vietnam is the fact that it just feeds into the myth, and I say myth because it's not a fact, that a lot of students here in Vietnam can speak English. They can't. They can't. See, a lot of kids here, they know just enough English, and that's it. They can't speak it fluently. They don't speak it outside of the classroom. They don't speak it inside the classroom. They only speak English when you directly ask them a question, or it's a part of the group repeat exercise. That's it. That's it. If you encountered a Vietnamese adult who graduated high school on the street and you try to have a conversation with them in English, they're not going to be able to talk to you because of AutoPass, perfect 10 scores, and just being pushed through to the next grade even though they didn't earn it. So my English center is going to get rid of AutoPass, going to get rid of perfect 10 scores, and give children scores based on what they actually earn. So if the kid fails, the kid fails. All right, no more giving kids perfect 10 scores or not being allowed. This is the other thing. See, back when I was an English teacher, I wasn't allowed to mark kids below a 7 on a scale of 0 to 10 or below 3 on a scale of 0 to 5. So no matter what, they got passed even though they failed. And it really made me angry every single time I had to pass a kid that shouldn't have passed because their English was too low. See, I used the first graders earlier as an example, but a more recent example is middle and high school students. See, out of a class of, say, 50 students, yeah, here in Vietnam, the average class size is about 50 kids in one classroom. Out of those 50 kids, one, maybe two, would pass an honest English test. And that's being generous. Some classes, none of the kids would be able to pass an honest test. See, here's the thing. I see a lot of news articles talking about how great the students' English skills are, how great the Vietnamese students' English skills are and stuff like that. And no, they're not that great. The skills of the students aren't that great because of AutoPass. That's it. The only way students here in Vietnam learn English well is by an actual accredited international school like the Blue Ridge International School, or I think it's like Australian school, British school, or something like that. It's in Tao Dien Water District too. But I do know that in those schools, the students will learn great English because the teachers there are the best of the best. They're actual native speakers that have teaching degrees, like bachelor's or master's degrees in teaching English. That's the reason why they're doing so well. You see? The English centers, they employ fake native speakers. And I say fake because even though they have white skin, they're not native speakers. They come from Eastern Europe, Russia, South Africa. And like I said in my last video, I don't consider South Africa to be a native English-speaking country because of the fact that, again, as I said before, there's 5 main spoken languages in South Africa. You got Zulu, Xhosa, Dutch, Afrikaans, and a very, 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 very tiny percentage actually does speak English naturally. But like I said before, it is impossible that literally all, and I mean all of the native English speakers from South Africa are all streaming into Southeast Asia to teach English. It's not possible. Now, because Facebook has decided to allow people to lock their profiles, mine's locked, that you can no longer look at a person's Facebook and tell if they're an actual English speaker or not. But if you could, the Facebook would tell you if a person is a native speaker or not based on how their Facebook page is laid out. Is it laid out in English? Is it laid out in Dutch, Afrikaans? Is it laid out in Russian? Is it laid out in Ukrainian? I mean, what is it? You see? So, unless someone can actually prove that they are a native English speaker from South Africa, then they have to have C1, a CEFR, Common European Framework for Reference, CEFR, of C1 or above in either IELTS, TOEIC, or TOEFL, offline only certificate. See, that's the other thing I wanted to talk about, and I forgot to talk about that yesterday. See, in Vietnam currently, online and offline certificates are accepted. But with my specific English center, like I said, I would only accept offline only certificates, offline only degrees. Why? It's simple. They can be easily validated and accredited. So if I get a prospective teacher who has, certificates, degrees, stuff like that, and they're offline only, I can send an email or I can make a phone call and say, hey, has this person gone to your school? If so, what did they get? What was their degree? What was their major, their minor? What was it? Okay, and if they say, yeah, that person studied with us, and yeah, they got, a master's degree in teaching English for middle school students. Awesome, thanks. Or if I go ahead and call them up and they're like, oh, well, no, that person never studied with us. Okay, cool, thanks for letting me know, See, here in Vietnam, it's a little strange where people are allowed to have fake documents. See, it's not illegal to possess fake documents here in Vietnam, but it is illegal for businesses to accept and use fake documents that come from prospective employees. That's the reason why I would make sure that every single teacher I hire has the proper paperwork that's authentic and legal. You see, that goes into my whole framework of being 100% transparent, is because of the fact that if I have teachers whose paperwork is 100% accurate, no fake paperwork, no fake degrees, no fake teacher certificates, no fake passports, none of that. Everything is authentic, everything is legal, then I have literally nothing to worry about. As long as I pay my employees a fair wage, as long as I treat them with dignity, respect, and honor, as long as I go ahead and fulfill every single promise I make, then I have nothing to worry about. That's the reason why I mentioned earlier, if anybody tried to come to my English center and seek coffee money, then not only would I go ahead and take a picture, I would put them on the wall of shame for attempting to ask for a bribe. And I don't care who they are. I don't care who they are. Because of the fact that, like I said, my English center would be on the up and up. Everything would be legal, have all the proper paperwork. There's nothing wrong with my English center. So I would have nothing to worry about. So I would also specifically ask to be inspected by the Ministry of Education and Training, to be inspected by the Ministry of Labor, to be inspected by the Ministry of Public Security. I would request to be randomly inspected to make sure that my center is complying with rules and regulations concerning teaching here in Vietnam. Not only that, I would ask the Ministry of Education and Training for updated rules to make sure that my teachers are compliant, and if they're not, then I would make sure that they are. It's that simple. Now, as far as the actual center, teaching English in the center, or teaching German, Chinese, Korean in my center, is simple. I would have two options. One would be in-person teaching, the other one would be online teaching. This way, in case some students can't make it to class or whatever, they can still learn online with one of my teachers. Now, my teachers, flat out, would have good temper, good disposition, dress properly, behave professionally, all that. That's what I want. I want a good, solid workforce that I can depend on for years, not months, not weeks, not days, years into the future. Because I'm not concerned about, making money for one day. I'm concerned about making money for life. And you have to have a strong, solid foundation to make that money before you even do anything. Because if you don't, then you got nothing. You see what I mean? And a lot of these English centers, they're built on stealing. A lot of these English centers are built on stealing. Yeah. Now, how are they built on stealing? That's simple. See, according to the labor law, which I'm pretty sure changed this year, but I haven't been able to find it yet. I'm going to have to do a little bit more research on it. But according to the 2018 Labor Code, sorry about that, I went ahead and jiggled my thing a little bit. That according to the Labor Code, as far as English teachers go, I just lost my train of thought. I'm going to have to go ahead and continue that in a different direction. All right, so with the Labor Code and how it applies to English teachers is very simple. See, with employers, okay, now I got my thought back. According to the Labor Code, Article 11, Clause 2, and Article 17, Clause 2, under Article 11, Clause 2, employees shall not pay any employment costs. Now, simply put, that means if you have to pay something to get hired, then that means you shouldn't have to pay it. That means work permit, TRC, police check, health check, translation, certification of documents, all that has to be paid by the employer. The employee pays nothing. And under Article 17, Clause 2, it also specifically states that the employer is not allowed to request the employee to make a deposit of cash or property as an assurance of the employment contract. Now, asking the employee to pay for something that's the employer's responsibility does fall under 17.2 because that's the employer asking the employee to make a deposit of cash, to pay for stuff they're not supposed to as an assurance of a job contract. And a lot of employers under Article 17.1 like to keep important documents, even though that's illegal, because a lot of employers like to keep passports, degrees, certificates, stuff like that to force the teacher to continue to work for them. My center is not going to do that. The only thing my center is going to do is keep the work permit. But what we will do is issue a notarized copy, like a certified legal copy that the employee can keep, but they have to keep that on their person at all times. So that if they are inspected by the Ministry of Labor, Ministry of Education and Training at the school, then they have a copy of their work permit on hand. They have a copy of their passport on hand. They can show, it's like, yeah, I'm a legal teacher. This is my stuff right here. Boom, there you go. And if the Ministry of Education and Training, Ministry of Labor, Ministry of Public Security, if they had any questions for my English center, we'd be 100% upfront and honest with them. Tax season. This is another thing that a lot of English centers don't do properly, is taxes. See, here's the thing. Taxes here in Vietnam is a little different. A lot of English centers, they charge this fake 10% tax, which isn't tax, that's VAT, value added tax, which means they're not actually paying taxes, all right? They're just taking 10% off the top of what a teacher makes. The teacher gets the other 90%. Now, businesses here in Vietnam have two tax books. One they show the government and one that shows what they actually make. Now, my center will only have one tax book because there's no need to lie. There's no need. If you go ahead and state exactly how much money you're bringing in, how much money you're paying for expenses, how much money you have left over, where that leftover money is going, if you can show a completely 100% transparent paper trail of where that money goes, then you have nothing to worry about. So, to that end, anything that has to deal with finances with my English center would be done on an old, and I mean old computer, like Windows 3.1 kind of old. Something that's so old it can't connect to the internet anymore. Something that doesn't have USB. Something where you cannot go ahead and take out the information. You see what I mean? It has to be on that computer only, and that's it. The only thing that would be allowed would be like a floppy disk, okay? Because not a lot of computers have floppy disks, and the information that's magnetically read will stay on there a lot longer than a lot of other, old school type of technology. See, if it's not connected to the internet, it can't get hacked, you see? And if any time the tax department wants to go ahead and look at my finances, I just go ahead and point at the computer, be like, there's a computer, get on it. If you want to look at my taxes, there you go. So be 100% open, 100% transparent, 100% honest with the various ministries involved and with the parents of the students. There you go. It's not hard. It's just that a lot of these English centers are so heavily corrupted that they think it's a lot easier to pay bribe money, coffee money. They think it's okay to go ahead and dupe the parents into thinking that their kids are being taught by real native English speakers, even though these fake teachers come from Russia, South Africa, Eastern Europe, and it ain't right. Now, a lot of people ask me, what about the Philippines? What about the Philippines? You see, the Philippines is not a native English speaking country at all. Now, a lot of people would like to tell me that it is, but it's not. You see, in the Philippines, you have Filipino, you have Tagalog, those are the two main spoken languages, okay? You also have Latin for Roman Catholic Mass, you also have Spanish, you have Arabic, and you also have 13 regional dialects. And English is spoken as a second language, not a primary language. Because every kid in the Philippines grows up either speaking Tagalog or Filipino, or one of the other languages I just mentioned. Now, a lot of people are like, well, English is the language of instruction in my country. That's great. But if you don't speak English with your parents, you don't speak English with your relatives, you don't speak English with your ancestors, your Facebook page is in English, you're not a native English speaker. See, according to the Cambridge English Dictionary, a native speaker of any particular language is a person who has spoken that language since earliest childhood and not having learned it as a child or an adult. So the first words out of their mouth, if they're in English, because everybody around them speaks English, then that means they're a native English speaker. So what about kids who are born in multicultural houses? Well, I can answer that question personally because my daughter's Vietnamese and American. My daughter speaks both languages, Vietnamese and English. My daughter is considered a native speaker of both because of the fact I'm American, I speak English naturally, Her mother is Vietnamese. She speaks Vietnamese naturally. My daughter speaks Vietnamese and English naturally, so she's a native speaker of both. Now, here's the thing. As far as other countries, any other country in the world, okay? If you don't speak English since your earliest childhood, if you don't speak English with your classmates, your friends, your relatives, your parents, your ancestors, your Facebook page isn't in English, you're not a native English speaker. Now, traditionally, a native English speaker, someone who's spoken English since birth, comes from the United States, Canada, United Kingdom, including Scotland and Ireland, Australia, and New Zealand. That's it. That's it. As far as I know, there are no other countries in the world where English is the primary spoken language. Not a language of instruction, not, not none of that. It's just, just English only, and that's it. Now, here's the thing. In the United States, where I come from, Spanish is also spoken. Reason why is because there are a lot of people in the United States who only speak Spanish, and that's it. Now, I can understand if people just got there and they don't know any English, but if you're in the United States for 20 years and you don't speak any English, that's you problem, not a me problem. If you come to a country where you don't speak the language, you need to learn the language. That's what I've been doing. I've been learning Vietnamese through Rosetta Stone, and I'm almost done with that. Now, the problem is the fact that what I learned, what I can remember, and what I can speak are three different things. But I am trying, all right? All right, so next part is the fact that as far as getting rid of AutoPass, getting rid of everything else goes, if Vietnam wants to raise the standards of English education, that's where they have to start. And that's what my English Center is going to do. My English Center is going to get rid of AutoPass. If the kids fail, the kids fail. We're not going to sugarcoat anything. And if parents want to see their kids while they're being instructed, that's fine. That's the reason why I said earlier, we're going to have cameras in all the classrooms. The only places we're not going to have cameras in my English Center is obviously in the restrooms. That's for privacy reasons. And if people want to come through and inspect and make sure there's no cameras in the bathrooms, that's fine. I don't care. Do it. Now, here's the other thing. As far as cameras go, there will be at least one camera in every classroom. That's for the student safety as well as the teacher safety. The second thing, there will be cameras in the offices, hallways, any place that should be seen is where there's going to be a camera. Now, what happens if there's an event where someone tries to kidnap a kid? Well, that's something I'm not going to tolerate either. That's the reason why there's going to be security at my center. And we make sure that the kid who's being picked up is being picked up by the person they're supposed to be picked up by. That's the reason why we record license plates. So that we know specifically this kid gets off of this specific motorcycle, this kid gets back on that specific motorcycle. That's it. This way we can ensure that people aren't trying to kidnap kids. Now, the thing is, though, is the fact that opening and closing each day is going to be chaotic because of the fact you're going to have a bunch of people come in, drop the kids off, and then leave. So some people are like, well, how can you make sure that the kids are going to be getting on the right motorbikes if it's so chaotic? Well, it's simple. Make them wait. Make them wait. See, each room is going to have a specific time that they leave. This way, not all the kids get out all at once. You see what I mean? First batch leaves, second batch leaves, third batch leaves, in that order. You see, that way we don't have 50 kids coming down the stairs all at once. We have 10 kids at a time come down the stairs. Then we can go ahead and make sure they get on the right motorbike, they're with their parents, and everybody's happy. Because what happens if a kid gets kidnapped? That becomes our problem. See what I mean? That's the reason why my center would take extra care to make sure that the kids get on the right motorbike and that they're with their parents, parental guardian, or whoever they're supposed to be with. Now, the other thing, what happens if my center has disrespectful kids? Kids who don't want to behave, stuff like that. Well, that's the reason why there'd be a contract, either a monthly, like I said before in my last video, a monthly or a yearly contract. And in that contract, it's going to state very clearly, besides the fact that there's no refund, the fact that the disciplinary procedures. Now, see, I'm going to make 110% sure that my teachers know to never strike a student, because if I see on video or if I hear through parents or students themselves that the teachers are hitting students, then not only does that teacher get fired, but that teacher also gets arrested for child abuse. I don't tolerate that. I've actually seen with my own eyes Vietnamese teachers hitting students. That's illegal. That's child abuse. You don't hit kids at all. So, teachers don't hit kids, all right? Now, if the kids misbehave, if they act up, we're going to give them 3 chances. 3, because that's reasonable. First chance, simple warning, you know, like, hey, please don't do that. That's it. All right, like, please settle down, please stop doing that, stuff like that. They keep doing it a second time, like the second day, all right? Then they have to have a meeting with me, the owner of the English Center, where I sit down with the teacher and the student and gently, of course, explain to the kid that they're not acting appropriate, that they need to settle down, they need to, do the work, they need to do this, that, and the other, and that's it. Just calm, gentle language, but also to let the student know that they're not behaving right. Third, if the kids still misbehave, then the parents have to be involved. And then the kid would be on the last chance. After number 3, they're on their last chance. And if the kid still continues to misbehave, bully other students, not do their work, stuff like that, or they try to cheat, then they get kicked out. And if the parents try to ask for a refund, I tell them flat out, look, your kid got kicked out because of behavior problems. Okay? Your kid would not behave. We asked him repeatedly to behave. We have video footage that proves he wasn't behaving appropriately. And in the contract, it literally says no refunds at any time for any reason. All right? So if your kid misbehaves 3 times, technically 4 times, then your kid gets kicked out of school and you don't get a refund. It's that simple. So, yeah, when the contract specifically says no refunds, that means just that, no refunds under any circumstances. You see, we can't give out refunds like buyer's remorse. You know what I mean? We're not going to have buyer's remorse. We have to go ahead and make it very clear to the parents this is what you're paying for, and that's that. You're not going to go ahead and get refunds. You're not going to go ahead and get anything like that. This is what you're paying for. This is what you're going to get. And if you want video footage of your kid learning English, then we can easily do that. We can go ahead and set up like a thing where it could be on a private server where parents can log in and watch that one specific classroom where their kid is in, so that they can watch their kid learning English. It's not that hard to set something like that up. But the problem is, though, is the fact that there would have to be like a subscription fee, stuff like that, server maintenance costs, stuff like that. Now, a lot of parents, and this is one of the other problems I have, is the fact that a lot of parents here in Vietnam, they have a very hands-off approach to raising their kids. And what I mean by that is simple, is the fact that because I've been teaching English, I was an English teacher, but back when I was teaching English, the problems I faced were extremely rude, extremely disrespectful students that literally did whatever they pleased and could not be told otherwise, no matter what. They kick back, they talk with friends, they go ahead and, draw, sleep, they do whatever they want. And when you tell them no, when you tell them stop that, when you tell them to pay attention, you're not being abusive, you're not hitting them, you're not screaming at them, you're not using foul language at them, you're just telling them in a gentle tone of voice, gentle language, please stop doing that, please pay attention to your classes, stuff like that, you're the bad guy. If you don't want lazy students copying the answers off the board because they didn't do the work, you're the bad guy. You see what I mean? That's the other thing that my center would not tolerate are lazy students. If you don't want to do the work, then you get kicked out. It's that simple. Because I will not allow lazy students to just copy the answers off the board. Because you don't learn anything that way. That's the other problem I have with the Vietnamese educational system, is the fact that the teachers, 9 times out of 10, just write the answers on the board, and the kids copy the answers down, and they learn nothing. My philosophy is simple. Make kids use their brain, okay? You can't make kids use their brain if you're writing the answers on the board all the time. You see what I mean? If you're showing kids the answers, they're just going to mark it down. Okay? If you try and take their books away because they didn't do anything the entire 45 minutes that you had them do an assignment and they just want to copy answers down, you try and take their books away, you're the bad guy because you wouldn't let lazy students copy answers off the board. You wouldn't let lazy students sleep in class. You wouldn't let lazy students draw or eat food in class. You actually want students to be students and do the work. You're the bad guy. That's the other thing I don't like. You see? Lazy students, I will not tolerate. Parents of lazy students, I will not tolerate. Because if I have irrefutable proof that that student is being lazy and refusing to do the work and just wants to copy answers off the board, and the parent wants to go ahead and flip out on me because I refuse to let their lazy kid copy answers off the board, I'm not going to tolerate that. Because that's another thing that would be in that contract, is the fact that the kids actually have to do the work. It will be in the contract that copying answers off the board is not allowed. And that if we catch students trying to copy answers off the board and though they didn't do the work, then their books will get confiscated. And they'll have to have a talk with me about why they shouldn't be lazy students. See, here's the thing. I lived in Vietnam for 6 years. And in that time, I've seen a lot of stuff. Some stuff I wish I didn't see, but that's part of the course. And I've noticed over that whole 6 years that the educational system is doing this. Why is it doing that? Because corrupted centers hiring illegal teachers to teach bad English and edutainment, AutoPass, all that. Get rid of AutoPass, get rid of edutainment, actually focus on the lesson. Teach the kids English, teach the kids Chinese, German, Korean. Actually teach the lesson. Cut out the games. They don't need games. They need to learn. If you take a 35, 45, or 90-minute class period and you want to go ahead and just play games and stuff the entire period, the kids learn nothing. That's basically like a glorified babysitter, daycare. That's not teaching. That's just babysitting and daycare. That's it. What I want are actual, serious teachers. You see what I mean? That's the reason why I asked for 4 million USD. Because if you want to fight corruption, you have to have a lot of money behind you to do it. If you want to change the future of an entire country, you have to have money to do it. If you want to hire quality staff that will be with your center for years, not months, not weeks, not days, but years, you have to have the money to do it. If you want to go ahead and teach these students in a proper building that's also energy efficient because of solar power being added, that's the reason why I need 4 million USD, because I'm thinking about the long term, not the short term. Long term, okay? As I mentioned in my previous video, it takes 5 years for any company to become profitable. 5 years. Now, what I want to do, let's just say, okay, left field, all right? Let's just say that I go ahead and I get 4 million USD today, all right? All taxes are paid. I get 4 million USD. So what would be the first step? First step would be to buy 2 buildings, at least 2. Now, these buildings, one of them would have to be like a house because it would be just basically home office. The second one would be the actual English Center itself. And the English Center would have to be at least a 10 or 20 billion with a B, billion dong building. Now, a home office can be like a 6 billion dong house, but the actual English Center has to be a 20 billion dong building, like a big building, all right? But if we're just starting out, we should have a smaller building and then work up to that. Either way. So let's just go ahead and say we buy a 6 billion dong house and say, oh, I don't know, like a 10 billion dong, building, like a small or a big building, whatever, it's like 10 billion dong, all right? We take both and put solar power on it. Then we go ahead and get office furniture. We start with the signage. We go ahead and hire staff. We apply for paperwork. We do everything that's 100% legal. We hire the director, vice director, general manager, assistant manager, office staff, personal assistants, cleaning ladies, security, all that. And then we go ahead and apply for the paperwork to actually become a legal English center. Then comes the inspection from the Ministry of Education and Training to make sure that it's appropriate for the kids to learn English there, or the kids to learn German, Chinese, Korean there, stuff like that. They're going to see how my center has TVs, projectors, how they got a PA system in the classroom, how they got cameras in the classroom, how tight the security is. I think people are going to be amazed at my English center. And not only that, from a cost-effective standpoint, having solar power is great because that's less utility costs that I would have to pay for. Now, the other thing that I didn't mention, which is also extremely important, is insurance on the building too. Because it's a commercial property, you have to have commercial insurance. Not only that, but you also have people on the inside. So the commercial insurance is not going to be cheap, but at the same time, it's going to be effective because if anything bad were to happen, the insurance is there to cover it. You see what I mean? But for my employees, I will go ahead and get company insurance as well as the mandated social health unemployment insurance to go ahead and make sure that my employees are properly covered, so that if they have a medical emergency or something like that, they have two different forms of insurance they can use. And here in Vietnam, you can use multiple insurance policies at the same time. So that's less cost the employee has to pay for. Now, my center will follow the labor laws precisely. That includes hiring, retention, disciplining, and dismissal will 100% follow the labor laws. So this way, in case there's a dispute between the employee and myself as the owner of the company, we can settle it in a gentle fashion. But if they want to go before the labor board, we're ready for that too. And as a gesture of goodwill, that if the English teacher doesn't have a translator, then we can go ahead and point them out to various translators. They can pick whichever translator they use, send us the bill, and we'll pay for it. This way, they choose a neutral, independent, third-party translator that's not associated with us in any way, and we pay for it. This way, they're given a fair chance to represent themselves at the labor board. And if things don't go my way, if things don't go the center's way and we have to pay them money or we get fined or something, that's fine. We'll pay it. You see what I mean? If we're in the wrong, then we will gladly make amends according to the law. However, if the English teacher, the current or former employee, is in the wrong, then all we're going to ask is what's appropriate by law. We won't go above and beyond that. If the law says that the teacher has to give us like 1 month's salary, that's fine. We're not going to ask for more. We're not going to ask for jail time unless they've done something extremely serious. We're not going to ask for jail time. We're not going to ask for anything like that. Just, pay up what you owe. If you destroyed something, pay to replace it with like item. That's it. That's it. Now, occupational safety and health. Now, see, here's the thing. With occupational safety and health, being an English teacher or a teacher of German, Chinese, or Korean, what have you, the fact that occupational safety and health is actually quite simple. See, in my center, I will mandate, meaning you don't have a choice, you will do this or else you don't have a job with me, that while the teachers are teaching English in my center and in the public schools that are associated with my English center, you will have your vaccinations up to date. This means that you won't get sick. See, a lot of people really don't like wearing masks. I personally think not wearing a mask while you're sick is stupid. All right? If you're sick, you have to wear a mask so that you don't make others sick. But some people are like, my rights, my freedoms, my rights, my freedoms. Well, you're in Vietnam, you're not in the U.S. And if Vietnam tells you to wear a mask, you better wear a mask or you ain't going outside. Now, with my center, with the public schools that would be associated with my center, all my teachers will have their vaccinations up to date. And if not, then my center would help make sure that their vaccinations are up to date. And if a mask mandate is issued by the Ministry of Health, well, then my teachers either wear the mask or they don't get a job. Now, what about the anti-vaxxers? Well, that's simple. See, even to come to Vietnam, you have to have certain vaccinations, all right? You have to have certain vaccinations just to come to Vietnam. because of things like typhoid, hepatitis A, hepatitis B, uh, like a lot of other things. Now, malaria, they actually have a vaccine for that now, as well as dengue fever, but those aren't required. It's just you got to have like typhoid, Hep A, Hep B, and a few other vaccines in order to come to Vietnam. So my center will not employ anti-vaxxers. My center will not employ anti-maskers. If you want to believe that you can chant "my rights, my freedoms, my rights, my freedoms," well, that doesn't apply here in Vietnam. If I tell you to wear a mask, if I tell you to get your shots, then you get your shots or you don't get a job. It's that simple. Just the same as me telling my employees that, wear proper attire while you're teaching. You don't want to wear proper attire. If you want to dress like you're going out to the club, you're not going to have a job with me. It's that simple. Because of the fact that I want my center, I want my teachers, my staff to just look and act professional at all times. That's the reason why I don't want man buns. Because man buns aren't professional. They're not. Having different colored hair, like pink, blue, neon green, no, that's not acceptable either. It's got to be natural hair color only. All right. Now, if someone wants to go from, say, brunette to blonde, eh, technically it's a natural hair color, but it's not that person's natural hair color. I'm kind of on the fence about that because of the fact that, on one hand, it's not professional hair color, but it's not the natural hair color. But at the same time, it is a natural color. It's just not the teacher's natural color. So what I would think of to do is simple: is the fact to just tell the teacher that you have to have natural color of your actual hair. You can't change from brunette to blonde or from red to black or something like that. You have to keep your natural hair color at all times. Now, see, with me, as you can see, I have white, not gray, but white in my beard. All right. Now, if a teacher wants to go ahead and dye their hair or their beard or whatever to remove the gray or the white, that's fine. But it's got to be their natural hair color. It can't be, some weird color or a color that's not their natural hair color. Not only that, but my center will have uniforms, pants. I actually talked about just shirts yesterday, but there will be pants. There will be appropriate badges, everything. Because as far as the actual badge goes, the English Center has to issue badges for their teachers to not only while they're teaching at the English Center, they're teaching at the public schools. That has to show their name, their face, who they work for, as well as the fact that they have to, it has to be large enough that people can actually see it. That's the thing. So I have to go ahead and pause for just a moment. I will go ahead and be right back. All right, I'm back. So after the intermission period, so I'm back talking about my English Center and stuff like that. Now, here's the thing. With the money that I'm asking for, yeah, I know it's not a small amount. It's an extremely huge amount. But at the same time, I have a very clear plan of how I want it laid out, how I want to be 100% transparent, honest, and open with not only the government of Vietnam, but also the parents and the students that come into my center. See, the goal of my center, like I said, is to only hire qualified staff, to have all the paperwork 100% legal, 100% authentic. Everything is perfect. This way, we don't pay coffee money, we don't pay bribes. Anybody who tries to seek a bribe from my English Center is going to get put up on the wall of shame and thoroughly humiliated. And yeah, we're going to have very clear signs up, just like they have in other businesses that say, no bribes accepted, you know. And if anybody does that, they get the picture taken and they're shown the door. And if they want to threaten us, well, we're going to make sure those threats are recorded. And then we turn around and have a polite conversation with the Ministry of Public Security about that individual who tried to get, bribe money from my English center. So, yeah, the Vietnamese government takes an extremely dim view on corruption. So that's the reason why I would go ahead and report said corruption, because they will prosecute to the fullest extent of the law. Now, getting back to what I was saying earlier, see, the thing is, though, is the fact that I live in Vietnam. Vietnam is my home. I do plan to take my wife and my daughter back to America to visit. And at that time, if we're fortunate enough, I do want to go ahead and buy a house and establish, you know, a permanent house there again. Also, to go ahead and make sure, utilities, taxes, stuff like that are paid up on that house. And I'm not going to get a big house. I want like a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, maybe 1,056 square foot. That's it. And have it on a 7,000 square foot piece of land, like a quarter acre piece of land. That's it. That's all I want. Just like an average house in an average neighborhood in an average city in the United States. That's all I want. Of course, we'll be looking at things like crime rates and stuff like that, so you can choose a neighborhood that has low crime rate, stuff like that. But anyway, I digress. I do ramble a lot, but that's the reason why these videos are so incredibly long, because I enjoy talking. Now, as far as the director, vice director, general manager, assistant manager, what will they wear? Well, I will require the director and vice director to wear a business suit, like a tuxedo, because they're an official position, a high official position, so they have to dress the part. As far as the manager, the general manager, and the assistant manager, they wear uniforms like the office staff, like the teachers. Okay? Now, the uniform, the way I want to look at it, is going to be more silver and black. Those are the two colors that I want, silver and black. Now, a lot of people are like, well, that's going to be too hot. You're thinking reverse. Okay? I want silver for the main color and black for like the lettering and the stitching on the shirt. You see what I mean? So this way it's not that hot. Not only that, but I'd want the fabric of the uniforms to be breathable, like 100% cotton or something like that. Something that's breathable, something that's not hot, something that will keep the teachers, doing their job. Now, as far as the pants go, eventually I do want uniform pants to go along with the uniform shirt. This way, none of my teachers, none of my staff are going to get in trouble for uniform violations if they wear the uniform, stuff like that. Now, this is where I go ahead and branch off from the main group of thought, is the fact that I've noticed a lot here in Vietnam that women are allowed to wear earrings, but men are not. I disagree with that, because this is the modern age. This isn't old time. This is the modern age. Men can wear earrings in both ears too, and nobody thinks anything of it. So the policy for my center would be very simple, that if you want to wear jewelry, it can't be too big, it can't be gaudy, it can't be anything like that. It has to be small and tasteful. That's it. Now, as far as religious jewelry, of course religious jewelry will be permitted. I don't have a problem with that, because like I said in my last video, that here in Vietnam, according to Law on Religion and Folk Belief 2016 edition, which I'm pretty sure they got a new edition out by now, but the 2016 edition states that a person can believe or not believe as they choose, as long as it does not harm the state or state interest. So if you want to wear a small but tasteful religious necklace, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. So if you want to wear something that's like, this big, like I'd say 2-3 centimeters, that's fine. If you want to wear something that's this big, that's not acceptable, because of the fact that that's too big. You see right here, that's too big. Something that's like this is fine. This is not. The other thing, for earrings, okay, small and tasteful is okay. I don't want big hoop earrings or, big holes in the ears, like the gauges. Yeah, I'm not going to accept those either. All right. The problem is the fact that in my center, there will be a difference between public school and English centers. See, in the English centers, in my English centers, if my male teachers want to wear small but tasteful earrings that are not gauges, I'll allow it. Because like I said, it's the modern age. Men can wear earrings too, and nobody thinks anything of it. Tattoos. Tattoos is where I draw the line, because I have tattoos myself. I got 4 of them. All right, but they're in areas that can't be seen. Okay, above the shirt, here, above the shirt here, and below the collar here, because I have 2 on each arm and 1 on my back. And, well, 1 on this arm, 2 on this arm, and a big one on my back. But they're in areas that can't be seen. So if a person has tattoos, they can't be seen. That means no full sleeve, no half sleeve is acceptable as long as it's above, the line here, so that it can't be seen. Okay. Reason why I allow teachers to wear, earrings at my English center, but don't have tattoos, is the way I see it. See, it also has to deal with cultural preferences. That a lot of old school Vietnamese see tattoos as somebody being affiliated with a criminal enterprise, a criminal gang or something like that, even though the person isn't involved in such a thing. Now, I know of some actual name brand international schools that hire teachers with full sleeve, full arm tattoos and stuff like that, and I think it's not appropriate. Teachers shouldn't have full sleeve tattoos and teach in big name international schools. They shouldn't, because it doesn't look right. If they're not willing to cover up their tattoos and look professional, they shouldn't have a job. I have tattoos and I cover them up. So while I would let male teachers wear earrings at the English Center, the tattoos in both public school and English Center have to be covered up. Because the way I see it, two tiny earrings, like one here and one here, isn't really going to do anything. If you have a full arm tattoo on both arms, no. If you got tattoos on your fingers, stuff like that, no. You got tattoos on your face, nah. So I am willing to allow some things, but not allow other things. As far as gender ideology, that's another topic. See, in America recently, President Donald J. Trump, he went ahead and signed an executive order that states that the United States official positions that there are only two genders, male and female. That's it. So, reason why I say that is because my center is not going to go ahead and play into the gender nonsense that used to be in the United States under Joe Biden. There's not going to be any gender nonsense at my school. It's called, you're a male teacher, you're a male teacher. If you're a female teacher, you're a female teacher. All right. I'm not going to accept pronouns or, any junk like that. No BLM, no Antifa, none of that. So for U.S. candidates, they will be very thoroughly screened to make sure that they're not a part of BLM, Antifa, or any other domestic terrorist organization. And yeah, I do consider BLM and Antifa to be domestic terrorist organizations because that's how they behave. Now, BLM and Antifa faded into the background after, I think it was like 2018, but they faded into the background pretty much. But, I wouldn't allow anyone from Antifa, nobody from BLM, nobody who's, uses pronouns to go ahead and that does not align with their biological gender to teach at my school or to teach at any public school that's associated with my English center. The other thing is the fact that with those kind of people that use pronouns and think they're, like one of 5,000 different genders, that kind of nonsense. See, Vietnam is both modern and traditional. Okay, they're both. And a lot of Vietnamese parents will not tolerate that gender nonsense. All right, Vietnamese parents want the standard approach. Okay, so essentially, you're a male teacher, you are male at birth, you're a male teacher, you're a female teacher, you're female at birth. I'm not going to use pronouns. None of my teachers or staff are going to use pronouns. And if I catch anybody using pronouns, like, something that does not align with their biological gender, then I'm going to take them aside, have a conversation with them. And if they want to continue using gender nonsense, like, one of 5,000 different genders kind of nonsense, that I will talk to them 3 times. And that if they still refuse to drop the gender nonsense, then they don't have a job anymore. It's that simple. Because, like I said, I'm not going to let gender nonsense into my school. I'm not going to let gender nonsense into public school. Another thing I forgot to talk about is that I'm pretty sure it's been rewritten by now, but it's an older law, like 2008, regulations on teachers' ethics. That right there very specifically states that all teachers, I think I mentioned this in the last video, but all teachers have to teach according to communist and socialist law. Okay, that means, no preaching about democracy. That means no, preaching about overthrowing the government. None of that, like at all. All right. And if teachers don't agree with that, then they don't get a job. Not with me. Another thing is that if I ever catch any of my teachers saying such things, I will report them to the local party office myself because of the fact that that's not going to be tolerated. You live in a communist and socialist nation, you obey communist and socialist law, or you can get out. It's that simple. So, yeah, essentially, like I said earlier, I got a very strong idea, a very strong plan. I just need money to make it happen. Because a lot of people are like, well, Rome wasn't built in a day. That's true. The Grand Canyon wasn't formed in a day. That's also true. But this idea, I've thought about it for an extremely long time. I even have like a video from, I think, a year or two ago where I talked about, the ideal English center and how it's supposed to operate, how it's supposed to run and stuff like that. Well, these two videos that I released that are both an hour long, even though I love to talk and ramble a bit, is, the main reason why the English education and language education as a whole must be reformed here in Vietnam. And the only way to reform it is to do it on the grassroots level. To do it on the grassroots level, that means that I have to show people how an English center and a language center at large, how it's supposed to operate. With dignity, with honor, with respect, with trust, with honesty, all of that. Trust, honor, and respect. That's how an English center is supposed to run. Only hiring qualified staff. That's how an English center is supposed to run. Having teachers that have calm behavior, that know how to handle, disrespectful students without flipping out. That's what my center is all about. Paying teachers a wage that they're supposed to earn. That's what my center is all about. Because like I said, I don't want to pay per hour. I want to pay per minute. This way the teachers earn precisely what they earn and not one dong more or less than that. So extremely precise records, extremely precise taxes, extremely precise staff. That's what I want. I mean, it's that simple. It's not hard. Like I said, I just need money to make it happen. See, the thing is, though, is that TET is coming up very soon, within the next few days. And everything's going to shut down for like a week. There's not going to be any businesses. There's not going to be nothing for at least a week. Because everybody goes back to their hometown to visit family and relatives. Like I said in my last video, that with TET, it's like Thanksgiving, but it's 2 weeks long, thereabouts. My goal, if I were to get this money, and I'm not saying I will, but my goal is that if I ever got this money, what I want to do is to go ahead and make perfectly sure that the English Center starts during the summer. Because of the fact that if I'm importing teachers from overseas, I have to import them first, get them set up in the housing, which reminds me that I mentioned earlier about company housing. That's another building I would have to buy, at least 2 more houses just for employee housing. But 4 people in a room, it's free. They don't have to pay any rent. Now, as far as utilities go, the house would be hooked up with solar power. So the only real thing that everybody in the house would have to pay for, well, technically under the labor law, if it's company provided housing, that means everything has to be free, including utilities, internet, stuff like that. And if they want something better, then they can move out. Technically, under the labor laws, an employer is not supposed to make an employee pay for anything like that. Like, the only thing an employer can take out of an employee's paycheck is if an employee goes ahead and borrows against their paycheck, and they can only take about 30% of that to pay back the debt per month until it's paid back, up to 30%, and that's it. So it'd be free housing, free utilities, free internet, and if they want something better, then they have to move out. So yeah, I'll go ahead and revise it and say that. All right, so this is approaching an hour mark. So I'm going to go ahead and say that thanks for listening. I don't get out very much, and I just want to say thanks for listening. So this is Yun Lee Han reporting from Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam, District 12. I just want to say have a good day, be safe, and make sure to check out my other videos. Peace.